Good morning. This is T. Srinivasara, Assistant Professor, P.V. Siddhartha College, Department of Commerce, Vijayawada. So today we are going to discuss about overheads. So what is overheads? What is meant by overheads? So overheads is sum total of indirect expenses. Sum total of indirect expenses. Indirect labor. Indirect material. Sum total of indirect expenses, indirect labor, indirect expenses. So whenever we say overheads, overheads can be classified into two types. One is fixed overheads. The other one is variable overheads. Fixed overheads, variable overheads. So variable overheads means overheads which will vary with the changes in production. Changes in production or time. So overheads which varies according to changes in the production or time are called as variable overheads. Called as variable overheads. For example, raw materials are there. So raw materials are required for production of any product. So these raw materials can be classified into direct material and indirect material. So for example, in a jeans manufacturing company, button will be indirect material. Buttons will be indirect material. So as the number of jeans production has increased, the cost of buttons will also increase. So here expense is changing as per the changes in production. So sometimes variable overheads will change with the changes in the time. So for example, electricity bill is there. So electricity bill depends upon the time. If machine is run for 6 hours, you will get one type of electricity bill. If the same machine has been run for 8 hours, definitely you will get another type of electricity bill. So 6 hours it may be 1000 rupees. For 8 hours it may be 1500 rupees. So here electricity bill is changing on the basis of time, not on the basis of production. So variable overheads means overheads which will change as per changes in the production or changes in time. That is called as variable overheads. So when we say fixed overheads, so these overheads will not change with the changes in production. So whether production increased, production decreased, production stopped, so these expenses will remain same. These expenses will remain same. So for example, rent of a building. Rent of a building. So rent of a building will not change with the changes in the production. So if you produce 5,000 units, rent will be same. If you produce 10,000 units, rent will be same. If you produce 1,000 units, then also production will remain, factory rent will remain same. Even if you stop production, then also rent will remain same. So such type of overheads will be called as fixed overheads. Variable means they will change as per changes in the production time or production. Changes in production time or production. So that will be called as variable overheads. Next in overheads, so we will come across some important terms. One is allocation. Other one is absorption. Another one is apportionment. One is allocation. So what is allocation? Next, apportionment. Next one is apportionment. And last one is absorption. So one is allocation. So what is allocation? Allocation means which can be directly given to production department or service department, which can be directly given to the production department or service departments. So directly given means this particular expenditure is related to so and so department. So if you can identify like that, then it is called as allocation. Then it is called as allocation. For example, there is an overhead of rupees 1000. So if you say this 1000 rupees relates to production department 1, then it is called as allocation. So there is another overhead called another amount 2000 rupees. So if you can say this overhead related to production department 2, then it will be called as allocation. So allocation means where an overhead can be directly identified with the production department or service departments. Then it comes under allocation. Next one is apportionment. So there will be some overheads which cannot be identified either with the production departments or service departments. So for example, you see electricity bill is there. So electricity will be given for the entire organization. So now this electricity bill is 3000 rupees. Now this 3000 rupees related to which department? Production department 1, production department 2, or service department 1 or service department 2. Is it possible to identify? So no, it is not possible to identify. So we cannot say this 3000 rupees belongs to production department 1, this 3000 belongs to production department 2, or service department 1, service department 2. So when you cannot identify these overheads with a particular department, either production department or service department, so then we should go for what? Apportionment. That means we should distribute this bill among these 4 departments. If there are 4 departments, now this bill should be distributed to 4 departments. So for distributing, what we are doing or what we have to do, we have to take some basis. So what basis should be taken? So we can take separate meters are there. So we can take separate meters. So in each department, separate meter is there. So you can read the reading of the department's meter. Then we can apportion the expenditure. So if there is no separate meter kept in each department, then we can go for light points. Light points. So light points means number of switches in that room, so that you can count and you can distribute. If light points are also not given, then we can go for the area. So if area is big, automatically light points will increase. If area is small, automatically light points will decrease. So we are taking something as base for distributing electricity bill to production department as well as service departments. So when you are taking something as base and then distributing an overhead to either production department or service department, then it comes under apportionment. It comes under apportionment. So first word is allocation. So when we say allocation, that means a particular overhead can be identified either with the production department or service department. So when we cannot identify an overhead either with the production department or service department, and we are taking something as base for distributing of that overheads to production department as well as service department, then it comes under apportionment. Then it comes under apportionment. Okay. So when we say apportionment, so this apportionment may be primary, secondary. This may be primary or secondary. So primary means when an overhead is distributed for the first time, then it called as primary distribution. Then it is called as primary distribution. That means same example you take, electricity bill is there. So we are taking something as base, either separate meters or light points or area. So first time, so we are giving some amount to production department 1, some amount to production department 2, and some amount to service department 1, and some amount we are giving to service department 2. So this is the first time. This is the first time we are giving the amount to service department as well as production departments, as well as production departments. Then it comes under what? Primary distribution. So primary distribution. So I will write like this. The bill is 4,000 rupees. Let us suppose 1,000 rupees I will give to production department. 1,000 rupees I will give to production department 2. 1,000 rupees I will give to service department 1. 1,000 I will give to service department 2. Now this comes under primary distribution. Primary distribution. Secondary distribution. Secondary distribution means service department overheads will be given back to production departments. Secondary distribution means service department expenses will be given back to production departments. Will be given to production departments. So when you are giving back service department expenses to production department, that comes under secondary distribution. That comes under secondary distribution. Okay, this is primary and this is secondary. Primary and secondary. Now last one is absorption. So before we go to absorption, let us see why we study this chapter, overheads. First question, how selling price of a product will be fixed? So selling price of any product will be fixed as cost plus profit. Selling price of any product will be fixed as cost plus profit. Now what is this cost? So here cost includes all expenses. So whether it is direct expense or indirect expense, whatever expenditure you are incurring in your organization, that should come under cost. That should come under cost. Everything. Raw material, yes, it should be included in the cost of the product. Labor, it should be included in the cost of the product. Overheads, it should be included in the cost. Rent, it should be included. Electricity bill, it should be included. Repairs, it should be included. So whatever expenses you are having, whatever expenses you are incurring at the time of producing that particular product, definitely all these expenses should be included in the cost. Should be included in the cost. Okay. So here what we are doing, primary distribution we are doing. That means one overhead we are taking, and that overhead we are distributing to production department and service department. Service department, there is no product. Production department means departments which will be producing goods. Service departments means other than production departments or departments which will be providing services to production department are called as service departments. So even service department expenses should be allocated back to production department. To take some base, and service department expenses should come back to production departments. So service department expenses, when they are redistributed to production department, so now we are getting total cost. Now we are getting a total cost. So based on this particular cost, then we can think about this selling price. Then we can think about this selling price. So apportionment, the two types will be there. One is a primary. Second one, secondary. Primary. Next one is secondary. First time, then this is second time. Next word is absorption. So absorption, what is absorption? So this is what I said now. So whatever cost you are incurring in the organization, that should be included in the cost of the product. That means product should absorb every cost incurred in the organization. Every cost incurred in the organization. So you see, for example, we are producing product A. So on this, direct material cost is 10 rupees. Direct labor cost is 10 rupees. And we are having another overhead called as a rent. So that rent is 50,000 rupees. Now, how to include this rent in the cost of the product? So material cost, okay, 10 per unit. Direct labor is also 10 per unit, but this rent is not per unit. Rent is not per unit. So this is a total rent for the organization. Now, how to include this rent in this product cost? So what we have to do is, so take 50,000 overheads, divide it with the estimated production. So let us suppose we are estimating that our total production will be 5,000 in the month. Now the cost per unit comes under 10 rupees, or it comes as 10 rupees. So now this product cost will become 30. So 10 rupees direct material, 10 rupees direct labor, and 10 rupees is what? Rent. So now you can fix the selling price. So why we are dividing with the estimated production? Why you are not dividing it with the actual production? Because so today we produced the product. Material cost is 10, labor cost is 10. Now we have to sell that product. If you want to sell, you have to fix the selling price. If you want actual production, so you have to wait till the month ending. So till month ending, you cannot know what is the cost of rent per unit. So if you wait till month ending, your product will be spoiled, deteriorated. Your product may be deteriorated. So then no customer will purchase that particular product. So to avoid that risk, what we are doing, we are estimating the production and we are dividing it with the estimated production. So now the cost is 10. We are adding some profit 20 rupees. Now the cost, selling price will become 50. So now we will sell the product in the market. Now we will sell this product in the market. Okay. So now this 10 rupees we included in the product cost by using some formula. This is called absorption. This is called the absorption. This is called as what? Absorption. Okay. So allocation, apportionment, absorption. Allocation, apportionment, and absorption. So these are the three important concepts in words. Okay, now extend this one. Now extend this one. So when I extend this one, you see, I included a 10 rupees in the product cost. Rent as 10 rupees in the total cost. So after 1 month, production is 6,000 units. Actual production is 6,000. So, but what we did, 50,000 rent we divided with 5,000 and included in the cost 10 rupees per rent. But actual production is 6,000 at the end of the month. Then you see 50,000 divided by 6,000, it comes under 8.33. So 6,000 units when it is produced, rent per unit is 8.33. But how much you included there? How much you included in the product cost? You included 10 rupees. So you included what? 10 rupees. So actual rent per unit is only 8.33, but you included 10 rupees. Now this comes under over absorption. This is called as what? Over absorption. Over absorption. So I am not going to say anything about over absorption treatment now. The next class we will see. Now let us suppose at the end of the month, actual production is only 4,000. If actual production is only 4,000, now rent per unit comes around 12.5. Comes around 12.5. But you include only 10 rupees. But what we did here, we included only 10 rupees in the cost of the product for rent. Actual cost is 12.5. So now this comes under absorption. Now this comes under what? Under absorption. Okay. So these are the three important concepts: allocation, apportionment, absorption. So in apportionment, we come across primary distribution, secondary distribution, direct distribution, indirect distribution. So different words will be used. Different words will be used. And last word is absorption. So in absorption, what is happening? All the overhead costs are included in the total cost of the product on the basis of estimation. So hence we can conclude that overheads chapter is maximum done on the basis of estimation. Is done on the basis of estimation. Okay. Thank you.